one who had to go through all of that without any guidance, any support system. She had to find coping mechanisms by herself. So there is absolutely no reason that you now, with more wisdom and knowledge and life experience, cannot help her to become integrated with yourself. If you follow each of these steps consistently, I can guarantee to you that you will become a magnet to everything that you've ever desired in your life. So stay tuned. The first thing that you need to understand when it comes to healing your inner child is the fact that your inner child is in the driver's seat. She is running the show and you don't even realize it. If you actually take the time to get to know your inner child and form a relationship and a bond with her, I know it sounds batshit crazy, but just hear me out. You will find that she is your inner guidance system. She is the one who is going to help you get through life, but you need to be working together rather than in conflict. Because if you're just neglecting your inner child and everything that she's trying to communicate to you through emotions and feelings and even illnesses in your body, if you're not listening to her, then she's just going to keep going on with those things until you actually listen to her. When you actually take the time out to heal your inner child and integrate her into your life, you are going to find that you are a power duo. You can take over the world. You can get anything that you want in life, because with her creativity and childlike spirit and joy and playfulness combined with your life experience, your wisdom, everything that you've learned in life, you honestly can attract anything into your life. But you just need to fix your subconscious programming first before you start to attract anything that you want. So why do you need to heal your inner child? First and foremost, your childhood wounds and your current wounds are the same. You are the same person as your inner child. We tend to separate ourselves from who we were as a kid and who we are now, because obviously that was in the past. We try to forget about certain things in the past, so we just completely dissociate. We forget everything that brought us joy in childhood, everything that made us happy, everything that made us sad as well. We kind of numb ourselves so that we don't have to feel certain things anymore. But when we do that, we ostracize parts of ourselves and it makes us feel like we're at conflict within our own body, and that is when things start to go wrong. So until you address your inner child and get to know her, these cycles are just going to keep repeating and repeating until they are addressed. So you might as well do it now. I still find it so interesting that we do separate ourselves from our inner child and we think that we're grown now, that we are completely different. But when it actually comes down to it, we're not that different. We still have the same soul. We still have the same desires and wants and needs. It's just that some of them were probably pushed down and suppressed over time. But one example that I can kind of explain to you, when things happen in adult life and you can't quite understand why you respond that way. So let's say, for example, you're in a meeting, you're in a big meeting room with lots of people and you're talking about something that really lights you up. You know a lot about it, you're excited about it, and you have things to share. For whatever reason, you're in that room and you can't voice what you want to voice. You can't share what you have that is valuable. And you're thinking, oh, it's just because I'm shy. It's just because I'm anxious. I'm an anxious girly. I'm depressed. But really, when we actually get deeper and we dig into that, we will probably discover that maybe in childhood we were told that children should be seen and not heard, or maybe you voiced your opinion one time and you thought it was really valuable and you thought people would receive it well, but you were shamed for this, you was embarrassed, you was judged. So as a result of that, you made yourself small, you stopped contributing in group settings. That's just one example of how your childhood wounds can actually really affect your current life and we don't even realize it. Secondly, your childhood wounds will turn into shadow and resentment if you do not address them. If we're trying to manifest the things that we want in life, we cannot be judging and resenting other people. It's not productive, it's not going to get us anywhere, and it doesn't feel good. When you actually sit and you think about when you've been resentful towards someone, bitter, jealous, whatever feeling like that, do you feel good? Because I feel like the answer to that is no, because it doesn't feel good to be bitter, and you don't need to be. Once you realize that a lot of the time when you're being bitter, it's probably because of a shadow side of yourself, and childhood wounds can really create a lot of shadow in us. If you don't know what shadow is essentially parts of our personality that we have kind of disregarded, we've rejected, and we don't associate anymore because maybe in the past we were shamed for it or judged or embarrassed, like I mentioned in the previous point. But then as a result of that, it makes us bitter towards other people who so openly express that with so much authenticity and audacity, it almost seems like. We get really bitter towards them because we think, how dare you? You should be seen and not heard. The cycle repeats and you're just doing the same thing that was done to you back in the past. Do you know what I mean? So inner child healing is going to resolve all of that, okay? We're going to nip that in the bud because we don't need to be taking that kind of energy with us if we're trying to manifest what we want in life. The third reason is ACEs. Now, if you've never heard of ACEs is actually something that I deal with a lot in my job at the moment, and it stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences.
ACEs are stressful events occurring in childhood, including domestic violence, parental abandonment through separation or divorce, a parent with a mental health condition, being the victim of abuse, physical, sexual and or emotional, being the victim of neglect, physical or emotional, a member of the household being in prison, growing up in a household in which there were adults experiencing alcohol and drug use problems.
Now, you might have experienced some of them, you might have experienced none of them. However, if you have experienced any of these things, that just essentially means that you probably, this is really morbid, but like people who have experienced, I think is it like 3 or more of those things, have got a way higher chance of getting diseases and illnesses when they're older. And that is actually where a lot of autoimmune disorders stem from, when you have childhood trauma that's not addressed. Now, obviously these are probably more the extreme end of the spectrum in terms of things that you can go through, but even just trauma itself can sit and stay in the body if we don't deal with it. If your body is spending so much time in fight or flight, your body is essentially using all of its energy to try and keep you alive, because your brain cannot tell the difference of whether you're being chased down by a tiger or if your parents are downstairs screaming and shouting. So if you're in that constant state of stress, then your body is constantly thinking you're being chased by a tiger and that you need to stay alive. So it's doing everything it can to keep you alive. But over time, obviously that gets very exhausting, and that is where things come up, things physically manifest in the body and illnesses and all that kind of stuff, and it's not good. However, I've read a lot of books on this kind of thing. I'm very interested in it, and I do believe that you don't have to be a victim of your ACEs, your adverse childhood experiences. If you actually make a conscious effort to break the cycle and to look into it and actually deal with your childhood wounds and trauma, you are going to find that you are going to have so many more ways to regulate yourself and soothe yourself and ultimately heal yourself. If you want to do more research on it, obviously you can search up ACEs, or the books that I would recommend would be Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That is amazing. How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LePera, I think. They're really good resources and you should definitely check them out. And finally, you should heal your inner child, because you and your inner child deserve for all of your dreams and everything that you've ever wished for to come true. However, the only way that you're going to reprogram your mind is if you actually deal with these things. I'm not saying that that's not possible with just trying to manifest and not dealing with your inner child. Maybe it is, I don't know. Maybe you could work hard enough and you will get the things you want. However, from my own personal experience, the only time that I've manifested things that are actually truly what my soul wants and my soul desires and that are healthy for me is after doing inner child healing and after doing journaling and inner work in general. If you're manifesting from a wounded place, you're just going to manifest things that your ego wants, and they're not necessarily always the things that are going to be best for you. I typically find that it is so much harder to manifest things from a place of low self-worth, because you need to subconsciously believe that you are worthy of the thing that you were trying to call in. Otherwise, you're not going to call it in. You're not going to be on the same energetic frequency as it. And if it comes into your life, I wouldn't necessarily call it manifestation. I would just call it like a result of hard work. Okay, so how do we heal our inner child? First and foremost, I want you to visualize her and conceptualize her. It's always easier to ignore our problems than to face them, and it's always going to be easier to pretend that the things that we went through as a child don't still affect us now. So I definitely find that conceptualizing her and seeing her as an actual human being, a tiny little mini you, it just makes it so much easier to do this whole process, because you feel like you're talking to a person and you're not just talking to a concept, I guess. Now you can do this in many different ways. You can just visualize in your mind if you want to, or you can print out a picture of yourself when you was a child, stick it on your mirror like people were saying on TikTok for the longest time. Whatever suits you the most, roll with that. That first step is going to make it so much easier to do the rest of the steps and actually feel like you are making a connection with an actual person. Secondly, I want you to form a relationship with your inner child. I want you to get to know her. What are her likes? What are her dislikes? What does she love? What things hurt her? What things make her feel sad or made her feel sad? sad. If you sit down with a pen and a journal and really get to know yourself, find some inner child healing prompts on Pinterest, and just go through them, really get to know your inner child, really delve back into the past and think of the things that you used to love when you was a kid and the things that you found joy in, and then the opposite end of the spectrum, so the things that you didn't like, etc. This is going to be the best foundation ever for you to understand your boundaries and the things that you will and won't accept. A lot of the time we don't have boundaries in adult life because we aren't in touch with ourselves. We don't even know ourselves, let alone know our inner child. The sooner you get to know your inner child and get to know what she likes and what she dislikes, it's going to make it so much easier to make an informed decision from there of what you actually care about and what matters to you on a soul level. Once you start to form a relationship with your inner child, you're probably going to notice and realize that your inner child loves you. She does everything that she can to keep you safe and keep you comfortable. We might see it potentially as being self-sabotaging when we want to go to the gym, but our inner child is like, no, stay at home and eat loads of chocolate and sweets. But she's not self-sabotaging. She is just doing what she knows is comfortable and what kept you safe as a child, and that is all she knows. I'm assuming she's never had a relationship with you to understand that these things are safe and these things are okay to do. She's probably never had anyone to really soothe her and hold her hand and give her a hug and make her feel better when things were going wrong. If you grew up in a household where that kind of thing and support wasn't offered, then now is the time for you to actually offer that to yourself, offer that to your inner child, and kind of reprogram how your childhood went down. I also find this stage so important and so healing because you realize that you and your inner child know each other better than anyone. You are absolute besties. You've been through everything together, and for the longest time, if you've not been tender to your inner child, if you've not been communicating with her and seeing how she feels and what she thinks about certain things, she's probably been riding solo for so much longer than what she needed to be. I know all this sounds so crazy if you're new to this sort of thing. It doesn't really sound crazy to me at this point anymore because I've been doing it for so long, but I know that it can seem crazy. Honestly, trust me, I find it so much easier to approach inner child healing when you can actually think of an actual person. I think a lot of the time our bodies are frozen in the past and how things were when we were a little girl, and we've not had anybody tell us and give us that reassurance like, no, you're not in that position anymore, and it is safe to do different things. It's safe to change the programming up a little bit. It's safe to make different habits and do things that might be a little bit scary. Number 3, let her speak. Give her a platform to speak and be heard. There are probably so many situations in life where you feel like, oh yeah, I'm okay, I can tolerate that, like I'm a big girl, I can deal with that. But deep down, you're storing that somewhere. You're feeling the pain of it, but you've just numbed yourself. You think it's fine because that's what society tells you, but really, you've got that stored in your body, and that is your inner child. If you think about a situation that you're in and somebody disrespects you or says something that hurts your feelings, you might be able to laugh it off as an adult. I really encourage you to let your inner child speak and let you know how she feels in that situation. How would your inner child have felt if she went through that when she was younger? Is that going to make you feel a certain kind of way? Is that making you hold emotions inside of your body? Just having a little inner dialogue just to check in on how that made you feel, like how it actually made you feel, and knowing that this is a completely safe space. No one's going to judge you, no one's going to think that you're being sensitive or whatever. It's just you two, but just checking in on yourself and checking in on your inner child and seeing if she's actually okay. And if she's not okay, again, being there for her and giving her restorative experiences, explaining the situation to her, rationalizing it, and then giving different coping mechanisms for her when she wants to dive back into the self-sabotaging behaviors. If you think of an actual toddler, when they're throwing a tantrum because something's happened, it might not seem like anything to you. You might be thinking, oh my god, why are they crying? Like, why are they overreacting? Nothing happened. But quite clearly, something did happen. That toddler is upset for a reason, whether it's minor or huge to them, something still happened to make them cry. So they're just going to keep crying and crying and crying until they get some sort of attention or some sort of soothing or something. So the sooner that you can actually sit with yourself, or in this situation, the crying toddler, and soothe them and comfort them, before you know it, they'll be sniffling, crying still, but they'll probably be thinking in their mind like, what am I actually crying about? Like, they'll be thinking, what is going on? Why am I sad? And then they'll get distracted and then they'll go play with a toy. So if you treat your inner child like that and you actually just sit with her and soothe her and just envision yourself putting your arms around your inner child, yourself when you was a little girl, and comforting her and giving her the love that she needed but probably never got. Again, this is a daily practice. You have to be consistent with it, otherwise you're not going to see the results that you need to see. Number 4, be your inner child's bodyguard. It's time to step up to that role now. So we've let her speak on a daily basis. We've let her express to us how she feels in situations where we might play it down and we might not be affected on a surface level, but it is actually affecting us deep down. So now we've got that baseline and we're getting that information every single day. I would highly recommend writing it all down as well. Like when you feel certain things, just keeping a log of it and keeping note of how you're feeling. You could just do that by journaling every day, journaling how you feel in certain situations. But anyway, once you've got that foundation, you're going to be able to make informed decisions on what your boundaries are and what you will and will not tolerate for your inner child. A lot of the time, we don't want to set boundaries when it comes to ourselves because we think, oh, it's just me, like I don't mind doing that, it's fine. And we get sort of like a martyr mentality. We like to be the hero, we like to sort of overexert ourselves and do the most and not really set any boundaries because it makes us look good to other people. But no, if you're acting as your inner child's bodyguard, your job is to keep your inner child safe, like I said at the beginning, like they did for you when they was a child and they were all on their own. It is your moral obligation to look out for your inner child in the same way that they did for you when you was younger. This is probably going to give you a whole different perspective and approach when it comes to boundaries, because if you're looking out for your inner child, if you're thinking of it like that and not like you're looking out for yourself, you might find it a bit easier to set boundaries in place because you can't think of anything worse than your inner child having to go through that. Your precious inner child who loves you so much and tries to look after you and has done her whole entire life. I don't know, I feel like you can just sometimes have more compassion for other people than we can sometimes have for ourselves. And over time you will find that you will develop a higher sense of self-love when you've been doing this for so long, because the more and more you do inner child healing, the more and more you integrate her and the more she will become one with you. She'll feel safe, she'll feel content, she'll feel happy, and you can just live a nice, harmonious life. And number 5, allow your inner child to play and find joy in life again. Think back to the second step where you're getting to know your inner child and the things that she loves and the things that bring her joy in life. Which one of those things can you do today to make your inner child feel happy and fulfilled and joyful? And I don't care how stupid it seems or how childish it might seem, we are all children at heart. We all still have those desires that we had as a child in our bodies now. Find a little bit of time in every single day where you can do something that will light up your inner child. I don't care how stupid or childish it might seem or how embarrassed you might feel about wanting to do that still. I don't care. Whether that's building a fort, whether that's watching a cartoon, whether that's drawing, painting, doing cartwheels, whatever it is, I want you to make time in your day to do something that lights your inner child up, because she deserves that so much, and so do you. You are going to find so much more fulfillment out of doing this than you are if you're just mindlessly scrolling on social media, on TikTok, watching other people doing things in life, numbing our brains essentially. You're going to find so much more fulfillment in tending to the needs of your inner child, allowing yourself maybe to be a little bit bored. Because when I think about it, when I think of my inner child, I spent a lot of my childhood in an imaginative state because I was bored quite a lot of the time. I had no choice but to daydream. So maybe tapping back into that, connecting with her on a deeper level, you are going to find that you just feel so much happier and so much lighter and less brain foggy when you're actually doing things that light up your inner child rather than going on social media. But that is a whole different video in itself, which I will do one day. So doing all these steps together in motion consistently and making sure that you're checking in with your inner child on a regular basis is going to be so beneficial, and it is going to ultimately help you heal your inner child. In fact, it will heal your inner child. There is no way that it wouldn't heal your inner child. If you're doing all these things, you're healing. Examples of the results that you're going to find after you've healed your inner child is that self-love is going to become effortless. If you struggle with self-love, you're just going to naturally feel like you love yourself more when you've gone through all of this work, when you do this on a consistent and regular basis. How could you not love yourself when you are putting yourself first on a daily basis because you're doing it for your inner child? Eventually, you are going to fall in love with yourself and you're not going to accept anything below your standard from other people. Your boundaries are going to be stronger, you're going to feel so much lighter and happier, and it's going to be amazing. I also found that doing this this work was the one thing that helped me heal my relationship with food so much. I struggle so much with food and binge eating and eating really unhealthy things, comfort eating, all that kind of thing for so long, and I never felt like I had control of it. I never felt like I could change, and it's only after doing this work that I've actually got a hold of it, and I love myself so much now that I wouldn't want to feed myself really bad food on a regular basis. My diet is so much better, I eat so much healthier, I exercise more. I just find, this ties in with self-love, but I just find that I will look after myself more and make myself healthy. You'll also feel lighter, less reactive, and your nervous system will be regulated. You'll start to find joy in life again, and you will become a magnet to high vibrational experiences and manifestations. If that all sounds like something that you want in your life, and if you feel like you have kind of hit a wall with your manifestations and nothing seems to be coming in, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many times you do scripting or any of these other manifestation techniques that you see on TikTok, I would highly recommend going deeper and working on your inner child. That sounds weird. Working on her in a way that we're getting to know her. This journey is a journey, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to bring up a lot of things that we've tried to hide from in the past and cover up. So obviously it's going to be a bit difficult and a bit uncomfortable, but that is the whole point. Just make sure that you embrace the discomfort of it and understand that what you're doing is going to ultimately lead to so many more amazing things, and you're going to feel so much more well-rounded as a result of it. Okay guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what inner child activities light you up, what things that you enjoyed doing when you was an inner child. I keep saying inner child, what things you enjoyed doing when you was a child. Let me know if you're going to implement any of these steps and do any of your fun little hobbies from when you was a child, because I do it all the time and it's so fun. I love you.